as you know, this was a regular exercise. We do this every year. It's called a tabletop, where we get all those involved, all those representing various functions of state government, which would be involved in the case of a storm or hurricane. And this year, the idea was to consider and understand what we would do if we had virtually no notice of the hurricane's arrival, because that could very possibly happen, and that was explained to us in vivid detail. So this is another example of how we are being prepared in South Carolina. We're hoping for the best, preparing for the worst, but we're on the coast, and as pointed out, Beaufort County alone has about 1,000 islands. You can imagine what happens to people there if we are caught unawares or have very little notice. So this is preparation, and you saw last year, and you've seen before, the results of preparation, meticulous preparation and planning, and that's what we're doing. We're going to do everything we can to be sure that all assets, resources are available to educate the people as to what to do, what to expect, what they must do, because ultimately they must depend on themselves. But we must educate them, we must tell them what to do, and then we have to hope that they will do that and take their warnings and take their information from those officially in charge. So we have a great team here in South Carolina, and the director of our emergency management preparedness is Kim Stinson, and if he will address you, please.
Thank you, sir. We're almost certain to have some kind of hurricane activity this summer and into the fall. It happens almost every year. And what we're asking everybody to be along the coast, and really everybody in the state, to be their own emergency manager. Then, like the governor said, you got to be prepared and have a plan, and it starts at the individual level. So what we've got to help businesses and citizens to prepare for hurricane season is our South Carolina 2018 version of the Hurricane Guide. And it's full of information about how you can get ready for a hurricane for both businesses and individuals. But it's got evacuation routes and zones in it. It's got actions when you evacuate. It's got actions and stay in touch in terms of staying in touch with the local news media, various local websites, and being aware of what's going on in your surroundings. And then actions on returning homes, things like checking the utilities and that sort of thing. That's very important to make sure your home is safe to get back into. And it's going to be distributed through a variety of means like we do every year. First and foremost, it's in print version. It's being sent out through all the coastal newspapers back to Columbia later this month. It'll be available in those newspapers. It'll be at all our welcome centers here in South Carolina. It'll be at all Walgreens statewide. It'll also be at the 20 coastal DMV offices. And it's also available all the time, or will be here shortly, on our website at scemd.org, and that's scemd.org. And there's a wealth of other information on that website to get people prepared, not just the hurricane piece of it, but for all preparedness that we have to be involved here in South Carolina. One of the key items on our website is the Know Your Zone piece of it, where it allows you to type in your address if you live down along the coast and see which evacuation zone that you're in, so that when you do get the word to evacuate, you'll know that which zone that you're in, so that you'll be sure to get out of harm's way. We'll also be fielding a couple of things here in the next month. One is a mobile application, emergency management mobile application. That'll be the same as the website, except it's going to be pared down for your mobile device. And it'll allow you to get a lot of that information in terms of knowing your zone, how to make your own plan, how to keep track of supplies, how to manage, again, your own emergency management. And thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir. And hurricane season starts
the 1st of June.
1st of June,
yes, sir.
Right around the corner.
And it goes until the 30th of November.
That's a long time to be prepared for.
It is, yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Oh, where's the general?
Right behind
There you go. Adjutant General Bob Levin.
Thank you, Governor. Team South Carolina continues to prepare. That means everyone in South Carolina. This hurricane that we considered this time during the scenario, as the Governor mentioned, is a short notice hurricane that forms off the eastern coast of Florida. That's a very real scenario, and it's one of those things you need to be aware of what's going on in the weather system off the coast, just not long-term projections. and introduce flexibility into your plan. And so awareness and flexibility are kind of the two watchwords that you need to be thinking about as we go into this hurricane season. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. I'd like to remind everyone again that the last ones we've had might not be like the next one that we're going to have. So if if we made it through okay the last time, that doesn't mean we can do the same thing this time and get through. Because if we have a stronger hurricane, one that hits us more solidly, or we have one for which we have less notice, things will be quite different. So it's very important to be prepared, to think ahead, start thinking about it now. It's coming. And we'll be ready. We've got a great team. Are there any questions for anybody?
With that, did you guys specifically pick the short notice hurricane scenario because we've had several years where we've had forecasts that have kind of fairly accurately predicted that they're on the way, giving us time to prepare?
That is correct, and that's the point. The next one might not be like the last one. Where's Mr. Stimp? Kim?
Yeah, yes, sir. Well, we found out in Texas here recently that they had a short notice hurricane like this. So that's very critical there in terms of being prepared. So it could happen. And we were told also today in 1984, there was a hurricane, Category 4 hurricane that formed off the coast of South Carolina, very short notice. Fortunately veered off the coast and went out to the Atlantic, but it could have very easily made landfall here in South Carolina. So this is what we're calling our worst case scenario in terms of not having enough notice.
And keep in mind that hurricane may hit at night. I mean, we may have to be doing an evacuation at night, if you can imagine the difficulty involved in that. So again, we have to be prepared. More questions?
And with the Know Your Zone plan, I see that Dorchester has 2 new zones. I mean, is there something like that came up that you guys addressed today, or is that just part of the new idea here?
You know, we actually have the county director here. He might want to say a couple of words from Dorchester, but basically he wanted to redesign his evacuation zones to make it more flexible and more realistic in terms of going through that process. Like to add anything?
Come ahead.
I guess just addressing the more flexible and realistic, I mean, is that because getting emergency vehicles in and out, that kind of thing?
No, essentially what we did was we've had 3 consecutive years of flood events. So essentially what we've done is we've reassessed the risk areas. So that's why you see now, we've regrouped some areas, most notably Zone D, which is primarily influenced by our tidal waterways like the Ashley River and Rantals Creek. So we have a more scalable decision-making process now.
Thank you. Any more questions? Thank you for coming.
All right. Good stuff.